everyone. Welcome to the Law of Attraction Roundtable. I'm your host, Gary Temple Bodley. And today we have one of our favorite people in the entire world, Kimberley Late from Down Under. Hi, Kimberley. How are you?
Hi, Gary. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here again.
Yeah, great to see you again. So today we have a question from Erin, and we were talking a little bit before we started recording here about, sometimes this idea of abundance comes in these little minor things, and people have manifestation around little tiny things that are happening. And it's really all about abundance, even though you don't really think it is. But we'll talk into this little one here and see how this everyday situation that everyone goes through is all a manifestation event about abundance. And then we will read from Goddess Abundantia's answer that Kimberley channeled, and then we'll read from Joshua's answer. So let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to read the question from Erin, and then we'll go into Goddess Abundantia's answer, and then we'll do Joshua. So here we go. I was just listening to Expansion is the Purpose podcast, one of the, was it a Joshua Live or was it a roundtable? I'm not sure. I have a question about a manifestation event that may relate to it and want to see if I understand it correctly. I recently had my sprinklers checked by my lawn company. It was offered for free, so I took advantage of that. The guy found some small things and checked my control panel and reset it. Since he was here, the sprinklers have not ran correctly on their assigned days, and the control panel seems to be the issue. I called, and he has come out to look at it. So this is the manifestation. My first initial feeling was frustration. The belief is that I'm being taken advantage of, and also, here goes more money. They always want more money. But then I thought, all things happen for my benefit. How is this benefit for me? Now I figure my limiting belief about money and being taken advantage of. I did call a neighbor to see if they had a manual for the controller, and she said she did have to replace hers a couple years ago. So now I should allow whatever comes of this guy who will come and check the system and tell me I need a new one and just go with theirs? ? My thought process was to see if I could find a cheaper one on Amazon and replace it myself, but is that me controlling the issue? If I were limitless and abundant, I would just let him do it. But then I think I could probably look around and get an inexpensive version of it, do it myself. Both options feel the same. It would be nice just to be taken care of and allow the universe to do everything, but then my limiting belief on that option is that I have to take care of everything to myself to be done right, which feels like control. But if I do allow him to do it, I may feel after the fact that I could have done it myself, probably. I think in this podcast, Joshua said to just allow it and to flow, but why do I think that is the wrong way? Probably because in the past it was perceived and pointed out by my family that when I did this in the past, this was why my life is the way it is. Wow, I think just by typing this email, I've had a powerful manifestation, LOL. Erin, great. So this is these little things that happen all the time. And here's how I do it now. I say, okay, is my abundance related to this money that I have squirreled away in a bank? And do I have to protect that at all costs and do things to save that so that it's cheaper? Or do I just have it done, and it's a little bit more expensive? And then I say, okay, well, what's my passion here and what am I really interested in doing? Am I really interested in learning how to fix this sprinkler system? Well, maybe sometimes you are, maybe you aren't. But if that's really not your interest and you can actually be doing something you're more excited about doing, then let someone else do it, which is the easy way out. That's going with the flow of things. What do you think?
Yeah. And then it's, it's that sense of control that we always want to do, especially around finances. And, I know what it's like. We all do it.
Absolutely.
But and we kind of have to surrender. And if we get it fixed by someone, a contractor, will it be done right the next time? Can I do a better job? And it's obviously it's much more than a sprinkler. It's that concept of just allowing things to happen naturally. the way it's supposed to. And, maybe it doesn't always turn out the way we wanted to, but that's because it's supposed to be like that, to put us on a path to explore maybe a different direction that we couldn't conceptualize before because we're somewhat limited in our perspectives.
Right.
So it is about surrendering and letting go. And it's very hard because we've been highly conditioned to control every ounce of our life. So, yes. It's about unlearning and letting go of this conditioning that we've had. So, it pops up everywhere. And even like in this scenario with a sprinkler, all these little things that seem maybe not that significant, it just shows us that, the conditioning is quite strong in all of us. So we all go through this. We're human. But it's about when this comes up to, have awareness about what's actually going on and why we're triggered.
Yeah. So now here's if this is a manifestation event. You find out the guy comes over, he fiddles around with it, then it doesn't work. And then he says, you got to get a new one. And if you have negative emotion, when he tells you you have to get a new one, that shows you have a limiting belief around abundance, around the fact that you can create the money for everything you need, or that the money for everything you need will flow when you need it, right? And in order for you to become who you're going to be, to follow your path of self-discovery, to discover who you truly are, that limiting belief about money and abundance needs to be overcome, or at least adjusted, so that you can get to the next level. So it's not just an accident that this happens. These things happen so that you can see your limiting beliefs and do something about them.
And, I think it shows this in the answer is that, this might be about a sprinkler, but that is because perhaps, her beliefs around abundance, she needed this. I know Joshua calls it manifestation events, beings of the light, call them tests. So it's like she's ready to go to this next stage. It's happening for her. And maybe it's presented to her in this way of a sprinkler, perhaps, to explore this in maybe a less significant, context. Because what happens if, she can do it now, it means it might not have to manifest into something more serious, like a health condition or something like exploring homelessness or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, this is a really good opportunity for her to explore this. And that's with all of us, so all these little minute things that we seem insignificant, it's actually, it's really beneficial for us. And it's like we have kind of less risk, you know what I mean? Because it's a sprinkler compared to some kind of what we can perceive as a more serious issue.
And most people would just say, damn, why did this stupid thing happen to me? And here Erin is looking at it from the higher perspective. Okay, what am I feeling? Why do I think it's wrong? And what are my decisions based on? The urge to change the conditions and go upstream, or can I go downstream? And she's thinking about it. That's an amazing leap forward, I think.
I know, because those kind of things, because they are, we probably see them as not very significant. We're not really aware of our emotions that get triggered sometimes. But it's like being in the present moment. We can have that awareness in these everyday moments. So it's actually good awareness that she has, that she has been triggered with these fears. So it's quite good that even though it seems not like a big deal because it's a sprinkler, it's, it is significant in a way because it's showing to her that about her belief systems because it was triggered. So yeah, she's definitely on her path here.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what the answer is from Goddess Abundantia.
Okay. D1, you are abundant by birthright. You are abundant in every single aspect of your life, but you do not see it. And importantly, you do not believe it. It is because you do not believe it in the universal flow, in the grace of the universe that carries you within the loving stream that is ever flowing to take you where you are supposed to experience certain stories within your perceived reality. Flow is grace. Flow is letting go of control and surrendering to the universe. It is surrendering to yourself. Being in the stream of grace means that resistance places boulders in front of you, allowing you to not flow effortlessly within the stream. The concept of control is a human condition and one that you have adopted into your belief systems. Let go of the control, let go of the resistance to it, and you will allow yourself to remember that there were never any boulders in front of you, that you are always in the stream, in the flow of abundance. It is about unlearning and remembering who you are as source manifested.
Yes. That stream analogy is really good too, because it's sort of like you are in a stream, you're going with the flow. Abraham would say you're paddling upstream, but it seems like you're going with the flow a lot of the times, and then you see a boulder and you perceive that it has to be removed or that it blocks your way when it really doesn't, right? Mm-hmm. And so you stop at the boulder and you chip away at it for a while until you give up, and then you go downstream again. But you don't have to. You can go downstream anyway, you know?
Yeah. And I like what she says here is that, there weren't actually any boulders there. It's only in our perception and the illusion that we see that there is these challenges. So it's about remembering journey. Like, we're always in that flow, like the stream. We're always there. We're never out of the stream. It's just in our perception where we think we're not in the stream, that there's big boulders in the way, or whatever you like to think, like perceive, like as an analogy. And it's just about, chipping back that unconditioning and that conditioning that we've had, that programming. And once you can do that and let go of all that, you'll start to remember who you are. You start to remember that you are in the flow and that you're abundant and don't have any boulders. So it's kind of like, it's like we already know all this. It's just that we've forgotten. So, but she's definitely on the right step here, because she's, going inwards and looking for answers. So that's good.
Joshua, in one thing, said it's like you're on the freeway and to you it's snowing and there's a blizzard going on and you can't see very far in front of you, and so you're going like 20 miles an hour and everyone else is zooming by and going the normal speed because they don't see the illusion that you see. And as soon as you get over that illusion, you can catch up to speed with everyone else. Yeah. Okay, next one.
Okay. D1, controlling conditions in any situation is a false sense of security for the human conditioning. To control makes you feel more safe within the illusion, for it gives you a sense of agency, so you can feel more worthy. You plan, you control, and there is nothing wrong in this. It is just limiting for you. For you see, as a human vibration at a certain frequency within the illusion, you can only perceive to a certain point. This point you can plan for, control your conditions around this perspective. However, what if we were to tell you that due to your frequency combined with the collective human consciousness frequency, you do not see what is truly there? What support systems are truly there, and what you are truly capable of? If you control your conditions, you limit yourself in exploring the abundant being you have always been. You limit your remembrance of your life purpose and what you chose to explore here as source manifested.
So this absolutely agrees 100% with everything Joshua says. And it's this, you can control anything, but that control will always be based in fear, and you'll always receive urges to change the conditions, and this will take you away from your true path. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just limiting. And you are all limitless beings, and you're all being limited by yourselves. It's all self-imposed limitations. In this illusion that you're not source, that you're less than source, that you're not all with one, that you don't have any guides and supporters, that you don't have an inner self talking to you and giving you emotional guidance, all these things. You don't have powers that, that you're not aware of the powers that you have. In fact, a lot of people see their superpowers as flaws, I was thinking, woke up last night and this image came to me of Superman, and he really wanted to be in a rock band, right? And so he flies around and he's really strong and he can see through walls, but he can't play an instrument and he can't sing. And so his superpowers are useless to him. And in fact, he's like always, he thinks he's weird for this when he really wants to be in a band. And so he becomes like the roadie for the band, and he's able to lift the equipment. And, there was one scene where he's looking through the walls of the music producer and could hear what the music producer was saying, and could see the contract and all this stuff. And finally his superpowers came out, but it was only when he realized who he was, Superman, rather than this thing he wanted to be. He wanted to be a singer because he wanted to feel the worthiness of and the fame and adoration that comes with that. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. But this is it. It's like you are being led to the life that you intended to live prior to your birth. And you have everything you need to live that life. But if you don't see your own worthiness, you're going to want other things that you think will make you feel worthy.
Yeah. And, like the beings of the light always say as well that, and I know Joshua mentions it in different ways, but, we as a human collective, so we're tapped into human collective consciousness because of our collective frequency, our soul contracts, soul intentions as a collective. We can't see the full picture, right? So we wanted that. I mean, some of us still have glimpses, but even then you have to detach, you see.
Yeah.
But, as humans, we can only perceive to hear.
Right.
We can't see what's up there. Right? So we tend to always want to control to here, because we can plan for here. We feel safe. By doing that, we have a sense of security, but it's a false sense of security.
Yeah.
And what happens is that we're limiting ourselves because we only see ourselves because our worthiness level as well. This marker also adjusts because of our vibration, how worthy we see ourselves, right? So imagine if our worthiness levels is at a certain point. We're only here, right? So we're only planning to here, but we're capable of so much more. Right. I know, Gary, I was the same, I know you've talked about this, that we never thought we would ever be channels, for instance. Can you imagine? Had no idea, it's something we didn't plan. It just happened.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. We only conceive ourselves to here. If we were just to let go of that control, that bar goes away, which means we allow why we're here, our purpose. So abundance is much more than money. I know, we've been conditioned abundance is just money. It's, obviously a lot more than money. It's allowing our true purpose to come, why we're here. And if we can let go and just surrender to the universe, I know it's very hard because we've been conditioned. We can allow the abundant universe, abundant in every single way. There's so many different forms of abundance to reveal a life purpose to us. And, sometimes we're not supposed to have, abundance of money because it's not what we came to explore here. Because if we had that abundance of money right now, we wouldn't explore another path that is aligned to our life purpose, you see. So you have to it's really tied into our life purpose and our, pre-birth intentions, soul contracts. So, I know Joshua talks about this, that abundance is much more than money. So,
yes. So abundance is having whatever you need to do whatever you're exploring when you need it. For me, it was when the first book was written, The Perception of Reality, I had thought that this was going to be a huge bestseller book, sell 5 million copies. Because this is what everyone says about the book. It's this most amazing thing they've ever read. And I thought it was the most amazing thing I've ever read. And had that happened, I would never have had the experiences that led up to where I am now. It would be impossible. I would have had different experiences altogether. And I would never have the foundation that I needed to have to be, first, very fluent in the teachings of Joshua, and second, knowing myself as a spiritual leader and teacher so they can teach the boot camp and do things like this and speak effectively about these things. I had to have 6 years of education for all that to happen. And I couldn't have been thrust into it. You see Eckhart Tolle, who was thrust into it because Oprah got the book. And The Power of Now became this $5 million seller. But he appears to be absolutely ready for it. You know, he didn't need the education that I needed or the preparation that I needed.
Yeah.
So now that I'm here, I'm doing these things like, you know, contacting Joe Rogan and being willing to share what I know about the Law of Attraction. You know, and you had said that you had channeled or received the information that I would be, on the show or something?
Yeah, well, when was it? Like a couple of months?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Not long ago, 6 or 8 weeks ago.
Not long ago. It was what happens is that usually I receive guidance. Usually it's just for myself, but if it involves me, because we're linked like with this podcast in a roundabout way, it also links to me. So I think that's why I received the guidance. And because usually I don't get it for like just people that I'm not really connected to. So I was just brushing my teeth, just randomly, and I received this guidance, and it kind of seemed randomly, and then I saw you on the Joe Rogan show, and that's how they give me guidance. Sometimes it's like I get visuals, and it's like, oh, Gary needs to contact Joe Rogan, and it was like, think about it, it's kind of random, brushing your teeth. I don't even listen to Joe Rogan. I mean, I've probably listened to bits of a couple of episodes, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a bit, you think it's a bit random. So I was very clear guidance, and it was like, okay. And then you just recently, Joe Rogan was talking about Abraham Hicks' Law of Attraction, and then you yourself received guidance as well. So it's kind of like a double validation, like a double guidance kind of thing that, to reach out.
Yeah. But if you didn't have sent me that inspiration, I wouldn't had, it wouldn't have been as easy to push past my fear to do it, to contact him, right?
Yeah, might have doubted
so it had to happen in that order. Plus, I had another session with Ondine Carrington, and she said essentially the same thing, that this is going to go, there's some surge that's going to happen in 2020 that's going to launch everything into the stratosphere. And we'll go to a completely new level of everything. Really, Esther was doing small little workshops for years and years and years, until The Secret came out. And The Secret was the thing, even though she was cut from the American version, was the thing that really launched her, And so you never know when these things are going to come. It's so interesting how it's like this. It's going to seem like this overnight success, but I had to have those 6 years or so in the making of that.
Of course. And also just a note to those of you who are sensitive and may see glimpses of your perceived future, because there's many possibilities. I've learned with myself, because, I get sometimes flashes of where I'm heading, and I get really excited, then I get attached to it. So it's a kind of thing, even though you may see glimpses, or I might receive guidance to others, we still have to detach from it, because there's so many possibilities, and if basically something's not aligned, someone's intentions, something always can change. And maybe also as well, there's a possibility that it's not even supposed to, to be that end result. It was just to lead us to get our worthiness up, to lead us to a specific path for another step. Right. So when we see these visions or these guidance or flashes of, future potentialities, we have to detach from it. I know it can be very hard, especially those of us that are sensitive, because we do get quite excited, especially when it relates to us. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited, it's going to happen. But it's happened to me, and things didn't go the way it was, or I haven't seen it yet. So I know that you still have to detach, and you just don't know. Like, for instance, in my experience, like before Beings of the Light, I'm a practicing counselor, relationship therapist. Well, I was, and I've kind of stopped the mainstream, and then I've combined my own high dimensional therapy, my own modality that I created, combining channeling with counseling techniques. Anyway, but before I had a business, more mainstream counseling with Reiki. And I was guided to do all this. So again, I received the guidance, do a business, counseling, Reiki, because I received all the guidance, did all the steps. I thought, okay, this is going to be so successful and everything, because I received the guidance. But, I didn't get all that success I guess I wanted from it. But that was because it allowed me to kind of close it down and then move, and then do like beings of the light. So even though we receive guidance to do certain things, it still, it allows us to take one more step, and it gave me the experience and everything like that. So if everyone, just because those of you watching, I'm sure many of you are sensitive and have it. But on another note, I do really hope it happens with Joe Rogan. It'd be very exciting.
We'll see, because I've stopped attaching myself to an outcome.
That's right.
Because you do not know how it's going to work out, right? And so when you start striving for things from your limited perspective, where you are now, you think that would be a great thing, but you don't know. And if you watch all these documentaries on bands, I was just watching the Chasing Happiness about the Jonas Brothers. It was like there was a lot of manifestation events that they had, that family, as they were moving towards this band career thing. And one of the things they did was make this nonsensical reality show or sitcom or something on the Disney Channel. And it really hurt their image and hurt who they were and held them back. But they were going for it because, they were just striving towards being this as famous and popular as they can. And then they ended up burning themselves out, and they had to reassess and regroup and start all over again. So the more effective way to do this is to just, whatever that inspiration is in the day, do what you can on that, and then leave it alone. And then just let the universe work with that, and it'll give you some more information or more inspiration on something else, and do that, and have no attachment to the outcome. Because once you release that attachment, you're not, we tend to have tunnel vision on these things we want. And we say, when we get that, we'll be happy. No, you got to figure out a way to feel good now, have everything totally working now. It's perfect now. Everything's great now. In the moment, everything's perfect. It's fun. It's fine. I built 2 really big companies, and the most fun time was the beginning. The first 3 or 4 years, when we were struggling and we were putting in hours and we were living, paycheck to paycheck. Well, whatever, hoping to pay the bills. And we never really appreciate those times. We always thought the fun times would be when all the money came in. But that's really when all the disruption comes in. All the chaos comes in when all the money's there, because your goal was to get all the money. You end up getting all the money, and you get there and nothing changed. Just now you got to do more stuff. So the early parts and whatever that inspiration is, without the attachment, learning to accept what is great and really appreciating what you have now, and then just letting yourself be led step by step. And if you can do that, it might not come the way you think it will, but it will be so much more fun and satisfying and enjoyable and joyful.
Yeah.
That's what you
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's what you really want. Right. You want it to happen at the proper pace. You never want to be thrown into the deep end of the pool. You want to go easily and effortlessly into the shallow end at your rate.
I know. And also, I do see this in our, communities, those of us on this path, we look at our own journey and we see guidance in many different ways, and we act on it. And it's just, I know that people can judge their own journey because I think they should be further along than they should, because they are acting on guidance, they are doing this. But there is a thing of divine time. There is, soul contracts in place. You can't see the full picture. So just be in the present moment and, just act on guidance or inspiration, as Joshua says. And then, you one step at a time.
And have patience.
That's it. And it's
enjoy
hard sometimes.
This time. Yeah.
It's hard, but it's part of that's part of the work, is to just to let go and have patience that everything is coming when it's supposed to.
One thing about this finite existence as a human, time is one of those things we feel a shortage of or a lack of. Yes. But there is all the time in the world, and you have to use the perspective of your eternal self to see that it's ridiculous. There's so much. You're not going to ever get this done. You'll keep going and going and going and going. And I was having a conversation with a friend, and I was telling them about this is an eternal journey, and that you'll be reincarnated and you'll come back and do it again, and you'll do it again. And it's like, I don't want to do it again. This is exhausting. And it's only exhausting because you're trying to control everything. If you live in the moment and control nothing, there'd be no better place to be.
Yep. Definitely.
All right, let's go to the next one.
All right, let's do the next paragraph. All right.
You see the sprinkler.
Yeah. You see, the sprinkler is of no consequence within the picture of who you truly are. The sprinkler is an aspect of the story within the illusion to allow you to remember that it was never about the sprinkler or any other object or situation that triggers abundance fears within you. It is a gift for you, being presented to you in the form of a sprinkler to practice allowing abundance to flow to you in any form that is required for your life purpose, to allow you to let go of what you are not, to remember who you truly are. The sprinkler is presented to you and perceived issues surrounding this, as there is less resistance around this in your belief systems compared to something more serious, such as facing homelessness or a health condition. This is a test for you because you are ready for it. You are ready to embrace the fear and let go of the programming that you are not abundant, that the universe does not provide, and that you must control your conditions to feel secure. Once you can let go, what will remain is the remembrance of your abundant, limitless existence.
Yeah, that sounds like Joshua wrote that paragraph. It's absolutely, you are source and the sprinkler in the universe, can you see how minute of a thing that is? So from a limit perspective, it seems big. From the perspective of source, where the entire universe exists, you come all the way down to this solar system, all the way down into this earth, all the way down into that neighborhood, all the way down into that yard, and all the way down to that sprinkler. How minute is that, right? And so that sprinkler is fixed. It is fixed. That's the vortex, right? It's fixed. You just have to allow it. And so they'll allow the easiest way. What's the easiest way? Now, if you have a problem, if you go, these guys are ripoffs and they're always out to get money, like was in the first paragraph, you're going to have a manifestation event around that. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to go with the flow and let him do it. But I bet you he screws it up, and I bet you it costs so much more than I could have done it myself. And then he's going to come by and present you with a bill because that's your vibration. Or you could just be, go ahead and fix it. It is what it is. It is what it is. Go ahead and fix it. Take care of it. I don't need to fool with any of it, right? And then it'll be an easy transaction. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the last paragraph.
All right. We know this can be challenging for you due to certain belief systems that you must control your reality to survive and to live in true abundance. I'm here to tell you that you do not have to hold on to these beliefs, that you do not have to control, for we have your back, my dear one. The universe is lovingly always there for you. You are worthy of this because you are the universe. You are your non-physical guides. You are the contractor. You are your family members. You are source. You are playing these games with yourself from the perspective of oneness consciousness. So let go of the resistance if you are ready to remember what true abundance is and how limitless you truly are. This is all occurring for your expansion, for your remembrance that you are eternally abundant. Abundance of money is a human construct to help you explore as a collective ways to exist from the constructs of attachment, resistance, and surrendering to your source self. There is much more than money going on here. You chose to explore the many forms of abundance, to remember your divine nature, to expand your unique energy frequency, and to expand all that is. Remember, this is a game that you created, a game of expansion. It is in the playing of the game where the freedom is remembered and where the expansion occurs. It does not matter what choice you chose, what choice you choose. However, choose the way of love, of freedom, of resonance, and you will remember your true abundant self as source manifested. Know that we love you, for we are you, we are one. Goddess Abundantia.
Yeah. So it's funny that these manifestation events come up like this, a little one. And what I've noticed is they come in groups. So you get to see the full faceted perspective of that limiting belief. So you see it from the side effect of work, people are trying to rip me off, I have to protect myself, or things break, I got to make sure they don't break, or I got to be more careful in my buying choices, or I got to learn how to do things myself. All these different sides of this abundance issue. Mm-hmm. And so, so I think that now, God, I don't know what we want to say it, but I think that it's good when 3 or 4 or 5 of these things happen in a row. And then you can say, okay, what's the next one? I'm ready for the next one. I'm ready for the next one. And maybe if you can be in that readiness for the next one, it'll be so soft, it will just come as a thought without actually having a physical manifestation event.
And also with that perspective from oneness, I know it can be challenging, but, it's one step in recognizing that, we are, like Abundantia says, we're playing the game with ourselves. We created the game. You know what I mean? So it helps you to understand that nothing is happening to you.
Absolutely.
That it's actually, we created this for ourselves. We're so highly advanced, right? Yeah. Everyone living here in this time continuum is so highly advanced. Pre-birth, we wanted to explore certain conditions, right? And some of them is lack of abundance, only to remember true freedom and abundance, right?
Sure.
So everyone is always abundant. And we're playing these games. It is a game of expansion. And I know it seems, and it can be so serious. It seems like it's so serious, but literally we're putting all these pieces together ourselves. Right? The universe is assisting, bringing these forth for us, but we wanted this intention. So once you can kind of perceive that, okay, well, I chose this for myself because of that, I have the abilities to overcome. So it comes with kind of like we come with the tools to overcome the challenges because we did choose Absolutely. It for ourselves. Right. It's like going inwards and releasing, and it is a game of expansion. It can be perceived as very real, very challenging, but know that we are source and we created this. So we have the power to overcome.
The mindset that you have around money is 100% related to how much money you have. If you can, this is why you become a millionaire, you lose it, and you get it back quickly. Mm-hmm. They have studies of this, and that people may take 10 years to become a millionaire. They lose it and they become a millionaire again in a year or two. It's because they have the vibration of that. They've already had the practice vibration of how to think about money in a way that is less resistant. Not counting every penny, not worrying about every bill, not thinking that people are going to think bad of you if you can't make your payments, not thinking people think bad about you if you have to borrow money. Whatever it is, you open up your idea about money, and that's what creates this abundance, because you'll be inspired to do things that people who are concerned about money would never do.
That's right. But also on a side note is that depending on our soul contracts, we may have chose to explore lack of abundance as a soul contract, as a pre-birth intention. So by doing that, even though you're working on all your abundance, it may not happen overnight. But like if you've chosen to explore this, it means you'll come out on the other side. But it's about, doing the work and not saying, okay, well, I'm doing the work. So, 2 months later, all this abundance of money is going to show up. Abundance might show up, but maybe in a different way that you're not seeing. And it's about having the patience, divine time, and it will show up in a certain way, but it's always aligned to your soul purpose. So, I have personal experience with it, working on, like before my business, like I'm doing everything that I'm guided to do. I'm changing all my beliefs around money and everything like this. But it's because I needed to explore the lack to reach to this point. Everything is happening for us.
But once you've explored enough lack, you can change your mind, right?
That's right.
But you have a lot of momentum around the lack.
That's it.
And it will take time because there are things you're inspired to do that you're not doing because you have fear. Right. Mm-hmm. And you have limiting beliefs that cause that fear to be triggered. I swear to God that if you had a more or a less resistant belief system around money, that you would be inspired to do things, and you would push past the fear to do those things. And the fear seems too much, I mean, for me, for you, for everyone. And wherever you are is wherever you are. But if you can practice pushing past that fear to do these things that you're inspired to do, that you have so much doubt around and so many worthiness issues, and you're so afraid to fail, and you're so afraid of what other people think. If you could remove the fear of failure, which is the fear of having a negative emotion if you fail. That's all it is. That's the consequence, is having a negative emotion, right? So remove the fear of failure, because you cannot fail. You can't get it wrong. You will expand to the experience, and it will prepare you for the next thing. It doesn't matter what people think, because the people around you are limited by fear more than you are. They are wanting you to stay back because it makes them feel better. They do not want you. They don't want to feel fear if you fail, because they'll feel negative emotion if you fail, or even if you succeed too, actually. And so don't care what they think. Don't care what it means about you, right? It doesn't mean any. If you are the Jonas Brothers and the world of success, you're not better than anyone else. You're just exploring this idea of being a rock star, right? Seems great from the outside, but you don't know how these people feel, And so nothing means anything about you, because you cannot be defined. You're limitless. It means you cannot be defined. So now just do what you want to do, and don't care about the money. The money will always come as a side effect of doing what you want to do. So do what you want. I was got really passionate about poker. And my goal was to prove that I was a great poker player. And so I had all these experiences, and I became player of the month, and player of the month again, and player of the month again, and in the top 5 every single month, that sort of thing. And it was really fun for a while. And I felt good, and I had all the good feelings that come with that, and I had some manifestation events, live manifestation events along the way, but I had so many amazing experiences, amazing highs and amazing lows, right, of this, but all in all, it was an amazing experience. And then it was done. And then it was over, and then there was nowhere left to go. There was no need to do any more. And so I was on to the next thing. So you can make anything happen, but while you're making it happen, realize it's the things that are happening in the moment that make it worthwhile, not the end result of it. The end result would be to win the player of the month. So I come in, they announce this at a big tournament. There are hundreds of people there. And I walk in, and they announce Gary won player of the month, right? And so people applaud because I'm a nice guy. So people applaud. And then other people say, well, he plays every day, or if I played as many times as that, I'd win too, that sort of thing. And so there's, back and forth, and you hear what you hear, but you sort of understand that that's what's going to happen. But there were other people that won player of the month, and no one applauded, because they weren't nice people. They weren't having fun. I was having fun the whole time I was doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's not the goal. It's that journey to the goal. That's the fun part.
That's right. And with abundance, we're so attached, you know, in our conditioning, the abundance is money. It has to be money. But look around you. Like, where do you live? What country do you live in? What about the food on your table? You know, the friends in your life? You know, like, we don't, sometimes we're so narrow-minded on it has to show up as money. We don't see the universe has provided abundance to us, but in different ways. And we don't perceive it as abundance because we're only, you know, because we're so attached to it showing up as money. You know what I mean? So it's about letting go of that concept. Abundance has to be money. It's showing up in many different ways for your life purpose. And the universe always provides for you.
Tracy and I just watched this great movie last night. It was a true story about these 4 guys that set sail from, I think, New Zealand, and they hit a storm, and the sails were in tatters, and then this rogue wave came out of nowhere and flipped the boat, and they woke up where they're upside down, and they lived in this little pocket of the catamaran where they thought they were on this 2-week voyage, and they thought that the currents would make them hit landfall in, you know, another couple of weeks or something. They ended up being there for like 4 months, right, on this upturned thing, and they ended up going into Great Barrier Island. They just floated into Great Barrier Island. Do you know where that is?
Are you talking about Great Barrier Reef?
No, well, it's called Great Barrier Island. And it's
No,
off of the coast of New Zealand. It's off of Auckland.
Ah, okay, yeah, I don't know. No.
Not very far away from where they left, but they were gone for 4 months, right? They thought they were going to end up in South America. Anyway, the captain of this boat, the owner of the boat, was totally into Law of Attraction, you could tell. He knew that he was going to make it. He appreciated all that was going on. They had enough water, and when they ran out of water, they figured out a system to catch the rainwater, and they ended up having more water than they needed. And they had enough food, and when they ran out of food, underneath of the ship was overturned, so underneath it grew barnacles, and it became this floating reef. So there was fish everywhere, and they were catching way more fish than they could eat. And they got the fuel that was from the boat, and they cooked the fish. They were eating sushi at first, and then they started cooking it. And then after 4 months, they land on this island, and they go into this house, and the house was empty. And so they drink the wine and eat the food, and they're just happy to be alive. But during it, they couldn't believe how happy they were. You know, I can't believe we're out here stuck for 4 months in this, you know, in this space the size of a queen bed. And they couldn't, you know, everything was beautiful, and they had everything they needed, and they couldn't believe how happy. At the beginning, they were terrified, but once the fear went away, they were just happy, and they just bonded greatly, you know. And one guy was really negative the whole time, and that guy ended up dying 8 months later of a brain tumor, totally negative. The other guys were pretty positive, and the captain was totally positive about the whole thing. In fact, he really didn't want that adventure to end. So anyway, this was in the 80s. They're at this house, and then a cop comes in is like, why are you at Joe's house? And they're like, we're the guys that were lost on the sea. And so they fly him back to Auckland, and they think they're going to be heroes because they've had this record for the longest, you know, survival in an upturned boat. And no one believes them because they hadn't lost any weight at all. You know, they looked like they had shaved when they were at this house. You know, they looked great, and they weren't weather beaten or sunburned because they had room, you know, to sleep in. It was amazing. And finally, they were being questioned, and people were saying, "You're liars, and you just left, and you know, were on this island the whole time," and making up the story. But then they and also, you know, they had all these rescue attempts and searches for them, and cost a lot of money. So eventually, the government did a test by computers to see if that would happen, and it actually proved out that that's exactly what happened. Is where the currents were going took them exactly there, and so then they were finally vindicated of all of it. But it was pretty cool how the guy's belief that the universe would always provide them with everything they needed when they needed it, but not before they needed it.
Yeah.
Another thing was too that the wives went to a psychic, and the psychic says, your husband guide is with us here, and he's showing me your husband wearing a white channel sweater and channel weave sweater, whatever, and that he's doing fine, that they'll all be fine, and that they're on an adventure. We're not going to tell you where they're going to land, but it's an island, and it's 2 words, and the first word is 5 letters, the second word has 8 letters, and that was it. Great Barrier was the island.
Wow.
And that they'll all be fine, but they needed the experience, and not to worry that they're having this experience. And at the end, the guy who ended up he was a real jerk the whole time. He finally said, I was worried and I was in fear the whole time, and I thought you were crazy for all these woo-woo things you were talking about, but I have to admit, everything you said turned out exactly like you said it.
Wow. Was this based on a true story?
Yeah, it's an absolutely true story. It
What's
happened
it called,
in the 80s.
movie? It's not the Russell Crowe movie I'm thinking
Overturned or something like that. Yeah, it's on Netflix now.
Oh, nice.
I have to look that up. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a nice example, isn't it?
It's I'm seeing all these examples in a lot of movies now. I can really see when if a movie.
I was gonna say, if it comes to our awareness, that means that there's something there for us, or a reminder for us. Yeah.
I've been on binge watching for some real weird reason. TED Talks about near-death experiences.
Okay.
And these near-death experiences, these TED Talks are all aligned with each other. They're random people, random researchers talking about near-death experiences. There's 13 million reported cases of near-death experiences. And one of the guys was saying they all follow the same sequence. And we can put statistics on them. And they all are very much the same. And here's what happens, is that the brain is hooked up to a scanner, and the scanner goes blank, right? There's flat line. So there is no brain activity at all. And the person leaves their body, they see themselves from above, and they can recall and recite exactly what the doctors were saying in that room. And the one case was this doctor talking about this, where he's had several cases where people have told him what he was saying in that room, where there was no brain activity. So if you think that brains manufacture thoughts, there's your proof that they don't, because there's no activity in the brain, and yet this person's having thoughts, and can recall those thoughts. Mm-hmm. Then they go into a dark room, and it feels warm. 2% of the people are scared, but they become comfortable afterwards. 98% of the people are very comfortable in that room. Then they see a light. They move somehow towards this light, and then they arrive at a garden, and that garden is specific to their culture. So if they're English, it's an English garden. And if they're American, it might be the plains or something, right? So every culture has a different garden. And in that garden, there are either your relatives who have passed over, or spiritual or religious figures that you believe in, right? And they're all there to guide you. And then because this is near-death experience, so they all come back, they are either given a choice to go back, and they said, you can go back, and there's things you have to still finish, or they're told to go back, and so they go back. Yet, that they don't want to go back. And they all feel that there's this line there, that if they cross over that line, then there is no turning back, right? They're in the non-physical. There's like 10 of these things, and they're all consistent. Yeah. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There's a couple, actually, I think, mediums. I know Jenny, who is part of both of our communities, she's a medium. So I know she teaches stuff with mediumship and things like that. So it's very interesting. It's another perspective of channeling, isn't it? Like people that channel, like people that's passed over. So like there's so many different types of, channeling out there, and it's exciting that, you know, this time of great awakening, that there was so many of us coming forth, and with these teachings in many different, you know, contexts, you know, to show, you know, that there is life beyond death, that there is no death, that you're eternal, that you're limitless. I just love, you know, and it's such an exciting time to be here, isn't it? Like all these things.
It's an amazing time to be here.
Amazing.
It's almost like a weird coincidence. How are we here now in the most amazing time? And someone was saying that everyone thinks that. If you were in 1800s, you go, wow, this is the most amazing time, you know, but no, this is the most amazing time.
Time of great awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into Joshua's answer. We're running late here. Dear Aaron, your reality is created by the vibration you are offering in the moment. Your vibration is built upon your belief system. If you want to manifest the life you truly desire, you must become a vibrational match to that life. Since the life you truly desire has to do with the absolute acceptance of what is, you must come to that vibration. If you feel resistance, all due to the wobble caused by fear and limiting beliefs, then you are not yet a match to your dream life. Therefore, the key to raising your vibration is to resist less. Mm-hmm. See, obviously it's to resist less, but Joshua goes through here and points out what you're doing, how things are manifested through your vibration, and that the reason you're not living your dream life is because you're in resistance. So the key is to resist less. The sprinkler broke. Good. The repairman came to check it. Good. It still doesn't work. Good. It will be repaired one way or the other. What is the easiest way for you to allow the repair to take place? Are you excited to do it yourself? Then that's inspiration. Do you have something you are more excited about? Then do that and let someone else do the repairs. In resistance, you feel that the broken sprinkler is wrong, the repairman is wrong, and the cost to do the repairs is also wrong and bad. However, there is no wrong anywhere in the universe. You perceive it as wrong due to a set of limiting beliefs. Without those limiting beliefs, you could not perceive anything as wrong. If you want to become a vibrational match to the life you truly desire, you must process those limiting beliefs. So this is why people get stuck in the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. You know, the first step is learning to discern your thoughts and learning to have the skill to push away the negative thoughts and replace them with positive thoughts or thoughts about what you like, right? And that is, you know, critical. It's really the first step. You have to get to that point. The second step is to look at the limiting beliefs that cause you to perceive that it's a negative thought in the first place, right? Instead of just sticking your head in the sand, now we're actually going to dig a bit deeper and look at our limiting beliefs and then do something about those.
Yeah. And I like how, you know, Joshua and both Abundantia both talk about the focus on it's basically unlearning, you know, letting go of the resistance. So that's obviously been emphasized.
We have all been learned to protect ourselves. You better watch out or they'll screw you, you know?
Yeah.
And that is impossible. You cannot be taken advantage of. You can perceive that you're taken advantage of, but everything that happens is happening for you. And, you know, you could say, okay, what if you were, well, this is a crazy example, but what if you invested with Bernie Madoff? You were totally taken advantage of. Well, not so fast. You got to understand all the different things that were going in there. Your amount of greed, you're not looking more deeply into this, you not asking questions, you just accepting everything as face value. You're feeling like a victim anyway. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. The victim and the perpetrator are not accidentally matched up. They're a perfect match to each other. So it's always that vibration of victimhood. If you think that you can be taken care of, if you think that you can be taken advantage of, you're exploring life as a victim, right? So soften that belief.
Yeah. And it's that whole duality consciousness, beings of light always talk about, is that duality consciousness is things are wrong and right. It's the victim mentality. But now that we've, entered more oneness consciousness dimensions now. So in oneness consciousness, we see everything is perfect, is right. There is no such thing as wrong or right in higher truth. So it's us as, we perceive ourselves as individuals doing this work. And also as a collective, we've also moved there. So it helps to take the edge off as well. But it's always about, looking at limiting beliefs, like you said, and also seeing that, this is just, because of duality consciousness, that's why we have these fears. And it's like not who we truly are. It's false. It's part of the illusion, but it's an important part of the illusion because it helps us propel us inwards to remember who we are. So it's not like, oh, there's fear, limiting beliefs, push it away. It's actually embrace it. It's about actually not being resistant to it, embracing it because it's a gift. There's lessons there for you.
Absolutely.
Because you're ready.
Yeah. And you want to know your limiting beliefs.
That's it.
Right. Okay. You exist in a state of confusion. You ask, why did the sprinkler break? Why couldn't the repairman fix it easily? Why does it always cost so much? Why do they always want more money? In clarity, you would look at all things with a sense of curiosity. How is this for me? What am I most excited to do now? I can't wait to see how the money will come for this repair. Everything is always working out for me. That is the mindset of an abundant creator of their reality. Yep. Imagine that you have a sprinkler system in the first place. How abundant is that? Imagine that you can just pick up your phone and call someone to fix it. How abundant is that?
That's it. And it's about perspective. Not everyone can actually have a sprinkler. Not everyone can have a yard to even have a sprinkler. Right. So it's about changing our perspectives. And I know in Western countries, we take a lot for granted. We do. So much. But just things I've always been a person. I never take anything for granted. I live in one of the most beautiful parts of the world in Sydney's northern beaches. And it always reminds me how abundant I am because it doesn't matter about how much money's in my pocket, but look how much abundance of beauty. Look where I'm living, right? And I've always been grateful. I'm like a tourist. I've been living here for 8 years, and I still take photos look like I'm a tourist and I live here, right? But things like you have to broaden your perspective. I know traveling helps a lot. When I went to Brazil, that helped me to open my eyes even more. So when you about just things like air quality, things like nature, things that we take for granted, you know what I mean? There's so much to be thankful for. And when you can focus and be grateful and feel that emotion of all the abundance that's already in your life, you'll have more abundance being attracted to you, but it's actually being remembered within your conscious awareness. Right. And you remove those boulders in the stream, and then you allow more abundance to flow in the different forms. So it's always around you. It's about your perception on where your focus is. And looking, it's about allowing and focusing on what you already have in your life that's abundant.
Yeah. And if you look at people who have worked and struggled and efforted to make a lot of money, they may have an abundance of money, but they don't have abundance of good relationships. They don't have abundance of joy. They don't have abundance of time. They don't have abundance of health. Abundance in all these areas is what we're looking for. All right, last paragraph. You have a set of beliefs now which cause you to perceive yourself as a victim. You are the creator of your reality, so your current belief system of a victim is out of alignment with who you truly are. This is why you are living the life you are living now. If you would like to raise your vibration to become a match to the life of a creator, you must adjust your beliefs. You must adopt the set of beliefs you would have if you were living that dream life. You do this by accepting all that is as perfect as it is. You do this by accepting that every single person in your life is perfect as they are now. You do this by accepting yourself as perfect as you are now. You do this by existing in a state of allowing and acceptance. This is the state of non-resistance. This is the state of the creator, not the victim. Choose your new state and enjoy your new life. With our love, we are Joshua. So that's awesome. That's abundance is always the most popular subject on these podcasts. And there's my favorite thing as well. So it's fun to talk to you about that and Goddess Abundantia. Tell everyone where they can find the great and powerful Kimberley Late and the Beings of the Light.
Thank you. You can find more information about me, my offerings, about, everything that I do on beingsofthelight.com. So there you'll find links to all our social media communities. I invite you to join Beings of the Light with Kimberley Community on Facebook. We've of course got Instagram, we've got YouTube. I invite you to, check out Patreon, because there I've got a lot of exclusive content there and you can participate on sessions. So check that out. The links are all there on the website.
Cool. And if you're not yet in the Joshua Friends of Joshua Facebook group, please go to Facebook and search Friends of Joshua and join that. We have a lot of stuff going on there. We do Joshua Live. That's our other podcast that we do twice a week as well. And if you're in the Friends of Joshua Facebook group, you can actually join in on the Monday call of that one. The Friday one is for boot campers only. A new boot camp will be started in January, the beginning of January 2020. That's the year of clarity. And I can't think of a better way to start 2020 than with a boot camp. This boot camp, we've done 6 of them so far this year. There's been over 100 people that have gone through the boot camps. It's absolutely an amazing, life-changing thing that was channeled by Joshua. There's nothing like it that I know of anywhere. It's completely unique. And if you go to the teachingsofjoshua.com website, you can click on that Abundance Bootcamp page and you can see a bunch of the testimonials from people. But if you'd like to talk to me about it, because that's the only way to get in the bootcamp, you have to have a conversation with me, just send me an email to joshuateachings@gmail.com, or you can click on the link in the website. Either way, then we'll get together, we'll have a half-hour conversation. I'll talk to you about your life a little bit, and then I'll explain in detail what the boot camp is. And it's 8 weeks. It starts in the beginning of January, and it'll set you up for a phenomenal 2020. Kimberley, thanks again for being here. This has been amazing. Love spending time with you, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.